Hello and welcome to Super Switchheads. My name is Patrick Knisley. Here with me
is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe.
And I'm Ryan Robinson.
Hey-o!
Special guest.
Ryan Robinson in the house.
Special guest Ryan Robinson.
Happy to be here.
What's up, buddy?
Thank you all for listening. We have a really great episode for you all. We are going to be talking about the current era of ports and remasters and remakes and sequels, and how there seems to be so much of that, and our thoughts and feelings about that.
How many ports is too many ports?
Yeah, are there too many? Are there not enough?
Oh my God, that's quite an argument. We'll get into that.
We'll get into it. Also, everybody, it is raining and storming here, so if you hear some background soft rainfall and loud thunder.
I'm sorry, Patrick, just a quick correction. It's not raining. It's as if the heavens themselves opened up and poured down upon us here on the mortal planet of Earth.
It is as if the heavens opened up and poured down here upon us mortals on Earth. So if you hear some background noise, that's what that is. Yeah, is everybody having a pretty good week this week? Everybody doing okay?
It's been pretty chill.
Yeah, it's been nice, except for the weather.
Yeah, I flew to Seattle over the weekend and I got some quality time with my Switch.
And did you get to stop by Nintendo of America?
Oh yeah, I did stop by.
Spill the beans. What was
Oh
that
yeah,
all about?
so my buddy works at another large company. That's next to Nintendo
in Redmond.
In Redmond, right? That's it.
Deduction.
Yes.
It's not a hard company. It's very soft.
This is a very easy puzzle.
Not a macro.
Yeah. We got this. You guys got it.
Sorry.
And I was looking online to see if they have a company store. They don't. They have an employee store, but I saw that they have a cool Guardian statue from Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, you snapped a pic of that thing.
There's a sign that says, please do not post pictures on the internet.
Wow.
But I did it.
I did. I posted it in our private Facebook group.
Very good.
So it's on the internet, but not on the internet.
Well, I'll leak that to Twitter.
But it's a pretty cool statue. It lights up and everything.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, it does. It lights up even outside.
It does.
In the rain.
Yeah.
That's great. I actually got to do a little bit of gaming this week.
That's wonderful.
It's not that I am caught up on Game of Thrones. It's that I just stopped watching it this past week, basically. Took a little break. Me and my girlfriend have been like, we've been going through like 5 seasons, basically, and it's like,
it's a lot.
I needed a breather, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got up to about season 5 with a week to go, and I managed to do 3 whole seasons.
Yeah.
Wow. I was literally doing nothing else after work but doing it, and I was playing like Zelda on my 3DS while I was watching it, and just like looking up at the important scenes.
That's what I've started doing now. It's like I'm no longer 100% paying attention. Yeah. Did you finally see Endgame, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm all caught up on everything. After this, if y'all want to talk,
let's have a nice big spoiler-heavy discussion.
So, real quickly, Mr. 711 on YouTube said, "Love the podcast, guys. Can we get some more episodes with my boy Jeremy?" Ooh. And sure. Hey, thanks for the feedback. Thanks for liking the episode and liking Jeremy. Yeah, I'm sure we'll circle around.
We like Jeremy.
I really liked Jeremy.
Having him again. Yeah,
I think Jeremy was a fantastic guest.
Yeah. But let's move on to the news and rumors for the week, gentlemen. So let's start with the Sonic movie, because we talked about that last time. So the Sonic movie director said that based on the giant backlash of the internet, they will make some changes to the Sonic CGI character. Yeah. So I guess that's good news. I don't know if that's going to really translate to people going to see it or not. Maybe.
I mean, whether or not the design is good doesn't change the fact that the writing and the trailer seem really bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just can't believe it's real, because I was hanging out with my friend and he showed me the headline. I was like, that's a fake article. That's not real. And it wasn't until a couple days later that I saw the actual article. I was like, oh, he wasn't just trying to troll me. They're actually changing it.
It's strange that they caved.
It's insane. Yeah. It was like or it was like the following day, something, right?
I think it actually was the same day.
That's nuts. How quickly the internet pushed back and they decided that they're going to change it.
It's kind of unprecedented, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
but it also feels like we're in the age where this might happen more, right?
Yeah,
Like the feedback is so quick and so relentless.
And especially from gamers, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Gamers are a notoriously fickle and unpleasable bunch. That's probably
Thanks,
a better
listeners.
word. Yeah. No, but it's true, right?
No,
it's like
it is, yeah.
you see that a lot in those communities. It's a very vocal group, right? But yeah, do you guys think they're going to be able to still make that November release date?
I don't know. That's a huge change.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they're probably changing the model of Sonic.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, right? Because he has weird human thighs.
Yeah, and
It's because of his strange human thighs.
and his teeth.
The teeth
and the teeth.
and the eyes.
And the whole fucking thing.
They got the color right. We can give them that.
That's true.
Good job on
I
that.
did see a recut of the trailer. It was basically all the same thing, but they just made Sonic red and like kind of warped the image a little bit, so he was Knuckles the whole time. That was pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, it's like basically what it comes down to with this is going to be like a lot of people are like, hey, it might not actually take that long because if they have a new model, then they could maybe just plop the new model in and then redo all the lighting, you know, with just that new model and all that kind of stuff. And that's maybe true. You know, I've talked to some people that are CG artists and I've had differing accounts from different people. Like some said that it could be kind of easy. Some said that it could be kind of hard, especially if they're changing the actual size of the character.
Right.
Because it's like, if they're going to get the proportions right, I don't see exactly how they can do it with this exact kind of eye frame where he's at right now, you know, and like with eye lines. So that's going to be a huge thing is they can't go back and just reshoot everything. Right. So it's like, they're going to have to do something that kind of fits in. So I wouldn't expect a huge change. But or he's going to look exactly like Sonic from the video game.
Well, not only did all of the internet make comments, but so did the cinematographer for Detective Pikachu, who said that the reason their movie looks good and Sonic movie looks bad is because they shot on film. What do we think about that?
They, as in Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, they
Pikachu
shot the movie
film?
on film and as opposed to digitally, and that's why Sonic looks bad. I don't think that's why
I don't
Sonic
think that's
looks
the
bad.
reason why.
It's a bit reductive, and it's a very director of photography thing to say.
Yeah.
You know, although that having been said, I did not realize that Detective Pikachu was shot on film, and I will agree that it makes me understand kind of why it has that warmth to it, right? Like in all the trailers. And first of all, I just want to say I'm really excited. We're going to see Detective Pikachu
Thursday.
this week.
Yeah.
Thursday. So we'll be having a nice juicy review of Detective Pikachu next week for you guys. But yeah, certainly that leads to something, but there are beautiful movies that are shot digitally.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Social Network.
Yeah. I mean, tons of
Just
stuff.
to toss one out.
Fucking Roma was shot digitally, you know, and it's like one of the most filmic looking things of all time.
Yeah, I think what's more important is that they just didn't change the design of Pikachu drastically for the movie. Like, they made Pikachu furry. That's it. Like,
Yeah, that's it. Right.
It looks the same.
Because there was backlash after the Detective Pikachu reveal as well. Like, can you imagine if Pokemon Company was like, we hear you loud and clear, we're changing Pikachu, he's going to be 2D
He's going to be smooth.
No more fur on any of these Pokemons. But yeah, it's definitely, I think it's just they've got a lot more issues there than just it being shot digitally. I think there's so much art design where it just doesn't look good.
Well, moving on to games. So Forza may be coming to the Switch, but unfortunately it's not the Forza any of us want. It is Forza Street, the mobile game. Womp, womp, womp.
A little preview of the port section here.
Yeah. So there's some code snippets that some data miners have found that suggest it might be coming to the Nintendo Switch, which this was originally branded as something else and then rebranded to be Forza Street. So, there's been a lot of talk about maybe we're getting a Forza game, and I guess we are, but it's not Horizon, which is the one I want.
And I hate to do this to you, Patrick, but it is Forza like pizza.
Oh, whatever. It's Pepe.
Pepe.
And it's Spiro, so you can all shove it.
Forza.
Forza Street, a mobile
It's
game.
a Forza, Spiro, and I will look into it.
Yeah, I don't care about this.
Yeah. So also speaking about mobile things, the Pokemon Pass mobile app came out, and you can go to Target and get a shiny Eevee for your Pokemon Let's Go game.
Ooh, I don't care about that either.
That's for a Pokemon Let's Go, not Pokemon Go.
That's correct.
Yeah, so there's no Pokemon Go with it. doesn't do anything with it?
I think that's the only thing we know about, right?
It's basically the evolution of like whenever you were a kid and you wanted to get Mew, so you would go to Best Buy or whatever and go to a kiosk. It's like that, but with QR codes now. And I guess it uses your location, so you can't just like take a picture of the QR code and like send it to your friend and then it works for them. Like basically you have to scan the QR code in a Target or whatever, right?
Maybe more things will come with Pokemon Sword and Shield for that app. Mm-hmm. We don't know.
I will say the one thing before we move on from this app stuff about the Forza game that's coming. Forza. The one thing that I did want to say is like all this is doing is just bolstering more of that Microsoft support with Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
I think if anything else, I really do think my major prediction for E3 this year is going to be a lot more of that Microsoft and Nintendo chumminess.
Microsoft rep and smash.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're definitely going to see a reveal for that.
You know, if there's one thing that this podcast is teaching me is that I pronounce a lot of video game things wrong.
Oh, me too.
Wait, what, was there something else other than
No,
Forza?
I'm just thinking about the Forza and the Pepe and the Speedo.
That's okay. They're very odd words.
Mario and the Legend of Zelda.
People do say Mario in like the Northeast and stuff.
The breathe of the wild.
Wait, that's not what it is. The publication Video Games Chronicle has been trickling out some interview information they did with Platinum Games studio head Atsushi Inaba. So they've been putting out a couple different articles, and they've been saying they're going to put out a longer interview with him. But in these articles, they've been talking about how Platinum Games doesn't own a lot of the IP of all the games they've been working on. So like Sega owns Bayonetta, and Nintendo owns the upcoming Astral Chain IP, and they want to start to move away from external publishers and own their own games, own their own IP. So that's interesting. Also, they've been in one of these. He talked about how they're working on something. They've got like a new project, something that's never been done before. So maybe that's like some sort of new mechanic or some sort of new genre of game. That's cool. Mm-hmm.
Or like they're telling a new interesting story that's never been done before in games. That
that's
could be
true.
Something cool too.
A narrative twist or something.
But yeah, definitely they deserve their own IP. You know, they've been working pretty thanklessly for other people's IPs for a really long time.
And
like
probably people don't know who they are. Yeah, they know all these games, but maybe don't know
exactly. Yeah, and like even Star Fox Zero, like they've been having this history with Nintendo for a while. So good for them. They should definitely be working on something on their own.
Yeah. Hope this is true for other publishers. Because I'm thinking like Rare when they made a bunch of Nintendo games, but they also have their own IP before Microsoft bought them. Mm-hmm. So like Banjo-Kazooie or Conker or any of those IPs were all theirs before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for those of us clamoring for sequels, this might be bad, or maybe it's good actually. Like maybe because they talked about how it was really a struggle for them to make a Bayonetta sequel, and they had to push real hard for it. But if they own their own IP and we like it, maybe they can make sequels whenever they want. Yeah, something you want to say there, David?
Well, I was just wondering, was there any kind of Bayonetta 3 updates in that interview?
No, it just talked. There wasn't anything juicy. It was just like they mentioned it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not gone, I guess, but nothing.
Man, I want to see something about that game.
We're due. So maybe E3, maybe not though. Mm-hmm. They also one of the other little articles that they put out talked about Scalebound, and they basically said there are no plans for the Switch for Scalebound, and Platinum Games kind of wanted to take some of the blame for Scalebound being canceled, which was kind of an interesting thing to read.
Yeah.
Because I guess Microsoft took the brunt of the. I guess people were upset about it because they were invested in the game, and it also sounds like it's not coming on the Switch. Like
that was pretty heavily rumored as well. That's kind of a shame. I was looking forward to some fun dragon action.
And Switch. It sounds like Microsoft is the IP holder there, so we'll see. You never know. I mean, they don't have anything to announce. It might come back, but I kind of doubt it. Moving on, Nintendo's May newsletter, at least that some people have received. I don't think I have received a May newsletter for Nintendo. Have y'all?
No, I haven't. No, I think it was only in some countries.
This may be in Europe or somewhere. Mentioned Cadence of Hyrule is coming soon, which we all know, but that's led a lot of people to speculate that maybe it's coming out in May. It's been a spring 2019 release since they announced it in February, it was February, late February.
February direct.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. That it just gives us an opportunity to talk about that game. I'm excited about that game.
Yeah.
It looks great.
I think
any
definitely.
of you guys played the original game it's
Sure, the Crypt and the Necrodancer.
Crypt of the
Yeah, I know.
Necrodancer? Thank you, David.
You have.
Yeah, it's great. I played it on PC when it first came out because I'm a big like roguelike dungeon crawler fan, and I like rhythm games. So
Yeah, I haven't played
mashup.
it yet, but I love that kind of rhythm game, especially one that goes against what like Rhythm Heaven or Guitar Hero or something typical.
Oh man, you mentioning Rhythm Heaven just really
Put it
made
on the
me
Switch,
want
please.
Rhythm Heaven game.
Put it on the Switch.
Oh man, I would forego Cadence of Hyrule for a Rhythm Heaven game.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, Patrick. But yeah, I mean, it was on that May thing. It basically in that email said it was coming in May. So that's
I don't know if that's quite what it said, but
it was like, here are some games you can expect in May.
yeah,
It was
that's like the
bottom.
title of the thing is things coming in May, but yeah, we'll see. I'm skeptical that it's coming in May, but I'm also curious because I think now that it's just going to be a digital only game. I think without announcing a release, that we talked about will it be physical or not. I'm starting to think, maybe $30 digital only. Anybody disagree or agree?
I think $30 is a good bet. I'd rather it be 20.
Yeah.
But I can see it being 30 with having the Zelda name attached
Yeah.
to it. Because Necrodancer is 20 or 25 on the
I think
eShop.
it's 15.
Is it?
Maybe not. I got it on.
I need to buy it if
I got
it's
it on
15.
sale for like $7.50. I think, like whenever it was on sale sometime. So
Well, we're looking forward to that. I also think there's a good chance it's just going to be an E3 shadow drop digitally.
that would actually make a ton of sense.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of my opinion about it, and I'm looking it up right now, and it looks like the Crypt of the Necrodancer costs $20 on the Switch
Okay,
right
it's
now
20.
presently.
Right.
So we'll see. Moving on, I just wanted to briefly mention this because I'm excited about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. The publication Game Informer has a big article about it, and that's a subscription-based thing. So if you don't get Game Informer, you can go to Go Nintendo and they
Read their summary.
and they have summarized it. And there's a lot of details about the game, about the story and the characters and all that. So if you're excited
Marvel
about
Alliance
that,
3 is on the cover of the magazine, right?
that's correct. Which I don't know that it shows off new characters or not, but it features some characters people are excited about. Like if you're into Marvel, like Spider Gwen and Miles Morales.
Big
and
Daddy
stuff.
Thanos is in it.
I don't know about that, but
He's in Fortnite
But
again.
He's in Fortnite. That's goddamn right.
bet he is because it's based on the Black Order, which is based on a Thanos story. So anyway, just wanted to mention that if you want to check that out. And I'm going to let David take the next talking point. There's there's a campaign you're excited about. Share some info about that one.
Yeah, for sure. So there's basically I saw a video on YouTube that was kind of talking about this. There was an Indiegogo campaign launched for this new game coming out called Rolled Out, which is a kind of a fan created spiritual successor to the Super Monkey Ball franchise. I'm an incredibly huge Monkey Ball fan. And when I say that, I'm an incredibly huge fan of Monkey Ball 1 and 2. And that's it, because all the rest of them are pretty terrible.
Are there a lot more than that? Or?
There's probably like 13 or 14
I
games
didn't realize
total.
there were
But
that
it's
many.
but a lot of them were like weird iOS games. Or like there was a really, really bad Wii one called Banana Blitz.
Right.
And that was like the first one I played where I was like, oh man, all the good people who were on the series are clearly gone. You know what I mean? Or like, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. But basically, the guy who's running, this game, he was a modder for Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. So like he's put out 2 total conversion mods for both of those games with all his own original levels. Basically they've just gotten the entire feel of it down exactly. Like so close that I'm afraid they're going to get a takedown for it. You know what I mean? But they're doing great right now on the Indiegogo. Basically their goal is 25,000. As of now, I think today I looked at it was like 33, something like that.
So they've met their goal.
So they've met their goal. So it is happening. Right now, there's like a nebulous stretch goal that they haven't announced yet that would basically allow for a Switch port. I watched like a stream they did on the day that was like the celebration stream whenever they won, and he was answering a bunch of questions about that. And he was basically saying it's like, yeah, they have a number that they think the stretch goal is going to be for a Switch port, and he really wants it on Switch, obviously, because that's
why
kind
not?
of, I mean, that's where Monkey Ball like got its fame was
Right.
on the GameCube. But yeah, so it's not exactly known how much they'll need to make, but I imagine, I mean, they made this much in like 3 or 4 days. And honestly,
people love Monkey Ball.
Yeah, and it really, this looks like a Sonic Mania moment for this series. You know what I mean? Because it's like clearly so much love was put into this game, and it's done by people who get it, right? And it's like the game looks like it just feels like those original games, right? And
maybe like a ukulele thing.
Kind of, yeah.
But hopefully better.
Yeah, I mean,
long term.
I mean, straight up, it's like you could put a monkey in the ball. Like right now, it's like a little rat with a scarf on. That's very cute. And rat's name is Morris. I've been looking into this.
Wow,
game
you know all this
yeah,
stuff.
like, but yeah. So it's like you could put a monkey in there, and it would just look like an official game, right? And so I just really, if you have any interest in the game at all, please check out their Indiegogo. Hopefully, we'll be getting some news in the next week or so about exactly what that stretch goal is, but I think they're going to make it. And it just looks so fucking fun.
I just pulled it up, and they have like 55 days left. So
yeah.
I think there's a good chance.
The first 5
They're
days.
good.
I mean, we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something I'm very excited about, and it's got me playing Monkey Ball again.
So the NES games for May on Nintendo Switch Online's Nintendo Entertainment System app, I think I said that backwards, were just announced. There's going to be Donkey Kong Jr., Clue Land, and Versus Excite Bike. Can somebody explain Versus Excite Bike? Because my understanding is that was not ever released on the NES in America, at least.
I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go for it, David.
Yeah, basically Versus Excite Bike was like an arcade game originally. And then it also used the Famicom Disk System whenever it was released in Japan. So it was never released in the US, and it's not actually technically an NES game.
And the Famicom Disk System is like an add-on for the Famicom,
That's
right?
correct. Yeah, it basically allowed like bigger games, like writable, like memory storage, basically. So like in this version of Excite Bike, you can do custom stages and actually save them, and then you can also like play multiplayer on the maps, which is something you can't do in the normal version for Excite Bike for NES.
I thought there was a stage creator in Excite Bike.
There is,
but you can't save
it.
You
can't save them. Yeah,
gotcha.
so this actually has writable memory, but really the big deal here is that they're, you know, and this is
It's not an NES game,
right?
But it's
right.
coming to the NES.
Well,
app.
that and Lost Levels, right? Like the version of
We're getting stuff we've never had, kind of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Though those were both on Virtual Console.
Yeah, they were both on Virtual Console, but these are the first times that they're actually being released. Other than that, so it's exciting. It kind of opens the door for some other stuff like Earthbound Beginnings,
Fire Emblem,
yeah,
Mother
Fire Emblem,
3.
stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, that having been said, I'm kind of hopefully expecting some SNES announcement at E3. So hopefully we're not just going to be like dredging through games that have not come out for NES for too much longer. But
I want to be more optimistic that they'll give us some Super Nintendo, but I just don't know at this point.
You have to really taper expectations.
You were saying, Patrick, before we started recording, that like this game Versus Excite Bike is like one of the last few Nintendo IPs that's like official game for the NES.
Oh, I don't think I said that, but I think that's true, right?
Yeah,
like they're running out of games.
Which might be to your point that we might have Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a ton more NES games that aren't on the app, but it's like as far as first party Nintendo
and licensing
games,
would be an issue and all that potentially.
Right. And you know, obviously they're not going to be putting out like the Mega Man games because they sell those on the eShop. You know what I mean? But it's like, hopefully we're running out of these first parties and they just move on to Super Nintendo.
I said this before and I'll say it again. I think we're going to get Super Nintendo in September. I think they're going to mention it before then, and they're going to do it to get people to re-sign up.
You think it's going to be a Super Nintendo Super September?
Super September.
That's cool. That's cool.
Super.
I'm smiling because I'm really proud of that.
I think. I think we've got to just give us an announcement for the SNES games at E3. You know,
watch, they're going to announce Game Boy games.
You know, I'd be okay with that too.
It would be cool. Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Right before the remake.
Give us a free version of Link's Awakening so we don't have to buy the remake.
So last bit of news here. Sega has put out some financial information, or I guess it was their sort of fiscal annual year breakdown. I think it's gamesindustry.biz that put some of this information out. And there's some interesting stuff here that ties into our topic, so we'll kind of use this as a segue. First of all, Sega reported a 17 million loss from digital games over the last fiscal year.
Oof.
That's a lot of money.
That is bad. Yeah.
And that's just digital games, so we don't know what their entire, whether they posted a loss or not when you include physical games. It actually sounds like their physical games sales exceeded their expectations. So that's weird.
It just kind of shows the state of the industry right now. You know what
I mean, you would think it might be the other way around because physical has the extra costs to it, but maybe they just had low expectations too. We don't know what all the numbers are here. But they also said as a result of this, they're going to reduce the number of digital games they develop. And I presume that means digital only games. Though they don't, I mean, again, this is all kind of filtered through third parties, but that's a bit of a bummer to hear that they lost so much money on digital games.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of kind of theories going around right now that basically the Genesis Classic being pushed back until next year kind of bit them in the ass this year because I think they were kind of hedging a lot of their financial bets on that being a hit this year.
And a lot of people are excited about that. It looks like it has a lot of good games on it.
Oh,
right?
It will be a hit. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be good for them and it's fairly cheap to do. And then, it's mostly overhead for them whenever they get that back. But but I think that might have bit them in the butt a little bit. But I think basically the big takeaway here is that they're just focusing on their existing IPs.
Right.
Now.
So that's sort of the last comment that to related comment, right? Like they said they're going to make fewer games basically. And when they do make them, they're going to base them on existing IPs. So sequels and remakes and so on and so forth.
You know what's interesting after what we just talked about with Rolled Out is they actually, I think just today, or maybe it was yesterday, just filed a trademark for Super Monkey Ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, that's an IP that they own, right? An existing IP, and it seemingly has happened in response to this Indiegogo. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I think we've kind of talked about this before, but like, there's these games that aren't having sequels and so on made like Advanced Wars, where then people are swooping in and making indie games that kind of fill the void, which is what's happening here with the Super Monkey Ball game. But to quickly get back, we're going to use this sort of to transition to our main topic, which is the fact that there are so many ports and remasters and remakes of games going on right now. So of course, there's new games being made with new IPs and new concepts and new characters, but it seems like a lot of what's happening, especially on the Switch, but in general across the video game industry, is that old games are being trotted back out and a new coat of paint put on them. I flipped that in a weird way. It's okay. And I also wanted to point out that this trend, because I think I'll make this comparison a couple times, isn't limited to video games. It seems the movie industry especially seems to be doing this over the last decade or so.
Yeah, like
too.
Bad News Bears.
Yes, precisely. That is the quintessential example.
This podcast is now Bad News Bears podcast, where we shit on that franchise.
No, but like old movies are being redone instead of new movies that we've never, with new concepts we've never heard of, and sequels are being
like
made.
New Disney movies are. They're taking the animated films and now making them live action.
Yeah,
or making them animated better.
With more realistic lions. Yeah.
Well, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
So I think there's a fear / financial drive here that like, well, this will make money, because we know people like it, and that doesn't always pan out to be true because people like good things, not just things they're familiar with. But so
God agrees.
So real quickly, I wanted to kind of make sure we know what everybody listening define our terms here.
Sure.
Because maybe not everybody knows what we mean when we say port, or remaster or remake or what's have you. I think everybody knows what a sequel is. I'm going to assume that.
Sure, yeah, I think we're okay on that one.
But port, I'll do a quick take on these, but please interrupt and clarify here. Like a port is when, there's an existing, or in the context of video games, there's a game on one platform and they port it to a different platform. So like there was an Xbox 360 game and they move it over to the Switch. We're talking about that.
For like a one-to-one thing. Any game that's like multi-platform is like a port from one system to the other.
And then a remaster would be essentially the same thing, but they enhance the game. It's not just how it was. They make it look prettier, sound better, et cetera, add something to it.
So an example of that would be like the Crash Bandicoot.
The trilogy or the Dark Souls remaster came out.
Like you up it up to 1080p or whatever, or put a fresh coat of paint.
The Final Fantasies that just came out as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, those would be remasters. Yeah.
And then a remake would be they take an old game and just build it again from scratch, which is happening, which is interesting. And that's like the Hollywood comparison, right? Like we're just going to redo Lion King.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For sure. And that would be like the upcoming Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yes.
Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2.
Which was great. Yeah.
Link's Awakening is going to be a remake too.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure we all were on the same page about that. So just big picture is kind of what's driving all this? Is it money? It seems like people want old games. What do y'all think?
I think the first thing that comes to mind when we're talking about ports or maybe even remasters is that a lot of people didn't own a Wii U.
Yeah. Right.
And people that have Switches want to play Wii U games.
Right. And so we're seeing a lot of Wii U games ported to the Switch. That's one of the things people talk about a lot. So yeah, we'll start with that.
For sure. I mean, the Switch has essentially turned into an enormous port machine. You know what I mean? Like so many games, like we're running out of Wii U games to re-release on the Switch,
Real quickly,
a couple.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, Pokken Tournament, Mario Kart 8, Bayonetta 2, Captain Toad, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors, New Super Mario Brothers, U. Those are all Wii U games that are.
And I bought almost all of them.
Me too. I didn't have a Wii U. So yeah, I'd be kind of interested to hear the perspective of people that had. Did everybody else here own a Wii U?
I had a Wii U.
I did.
Yeah.
I was a late adopter to the Wii U. I actually got a Switch before I ended up buying a Wii U.
Interesting.
You did that backwards.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to play. Ironically enough, I wanted to play ports on the Wii U. I wanted to play Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and also I was tired of waiting for Smash Ultimate to come out. So, played Smash, played Zelda.
We
3D
did
World.
Yeah, we did.
I ran a little poll on our Switch Heads Facebook group, and to just basically see. I just asked who had a Wii U before owning a Switch, and we had 26 votes said that they skipped it, and 21 votes said that they owned it. So that was actually a lot closer than I expected it to be. But there were some very interesting comments in here. I mean, I think most people are like you, Ryan, where it's like the people that especially have kept their Wii U are using it for the robust virtual console that's on there. And yeah, it's like a Zelda machine. You know what I mean? Like every single Zelda game up to this point.
There was somebody that said, once Wind Waker and Twilight Princess come over, they'll get rid of their Wii U or something like that.
For sure, yeah. But I mean, but in addition to that, I mean, it's like there were so many great games, you know what I mean? And I definitely understand Nintendo wanting to bring those over to the Switch where there's a huge market, especially because of suckers like us that bought the game originally and then buy it again a second time at full price.
Yeah, and I think it's unfortunate because the Wii U didn't sell well and it was very maligned while it was still Nintendo's current hardware. Mm-hmm. But nobody ever really thought the game sucked about the Wii U. Everyone always thought the games were good. It was just that the console had a lot of problems. It just wasn't as sleek and well designed as the Switch. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with those games, so bring them over. A lot of people didn't get to play them. So
does anybody feel differently? We all are happy about Wii U ports?
Well, yeah, I was playing my Wii U today. Oh, wait, what am
I? But we're all, I mean, nobody's got a problem with, some people seem to have a problem with this, right? Nobody in this room does, but some people think.
I think the pricing can be a problem.
Yeah, for sure. Like, for instance, like when Tropical Freeze came over, I thought that was pretty unfortunate that was a $60 game when it was released for $50 on Wii U. Yeah. Right. And I can't justify spending $10 extra for funky mode. You know what I mean? For a game that is that old, right? Like for me personally, I was really hoping that we would get Returns and Tropical Freeze as a package, right? Like I would happily pay $60 for that.
Oh yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. I did end up paying $60 for Tropical Freeze because I'm a sucker, like I said. But it's like that is the main problem, and like the Switch tax is not going away. Like fucking Final Fantasy 12 is $50. Mm-hmm. And so is X and X2.
And that's a big picture thing too here, right? Like it's not just that these old games are getting ported over. I think ideally we'd get them in collections or on a virtual console type system or the, NES, Netflix type system, like maybe not newer games, but a lot of these games are being sold individually again. For high prices. Yeah.
You have written down there it was just announced this week that Devil May Cry, the first game and the first game only,
a 2001 game,
is being ported to the Switch and not the collection, which has been released many times.
That exist, so I don't see why only put the first one.
Capcom is fucking weird, though.
We don't know how much it'll cost, but it'll probably be at least $20, right? And maybe more.
Resident Evil 4 and the other Resident Evils coming out this month, they're $30 a pop.
Right.
Which, Resident Evil 4 has been on every console for the last 10 years or however long it's been out. Like $30 at this point.
And those seem to be not really remasters. I guess
they're HD, but they're just like a retexturing over it. It's not like they didn't do anything.
We'll see. I mean, there is some precedent for it to be 20 instead of 30. Like what? Like Okami is 20. What's another game they put out at 20?
Isn't Turok like 20? But I mean, who's playing that?
It's an even older game.
Right. We'll see when it comes to that. But I think a lot of the big reason we're seeing so many ports, I mean, it's just people were just like, put everything on the Switch. And I guess all these game publishers like took that to heart and are now just putting the most random games on Switch. But I think the big reason that we're seeing so many ports coming to the Switch is that it's the first time to be playing a lot of these games portably, which is a huge draw. And the system is just underpowered compared to other current gen consoles, right? So it's like the best, games to be porting to this are games that would not take as much processing power. A generation behind. So it totally makes sense. It's just like, I do get, I honestly, it is a little irksome. You know what I mean? That it's like, that's kind of the feeling of the Switch is like, just play 20-year-old games on it.
I think sometimes if I know a lot of people want a 3D World port, but it's like at this point, shouldn't we be asking for a 3D World 2?
Yeah. Yes, we should, Ryan. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah. Right. And so you'll hear in defense of these ports, and again, nobody here seems to be making arguments against them, but you'll hear in defense that, it doesn't take as much resources, and so it's not like this is at the expense of sequels or new games, but it takes some resources, so it is at the expense of maybe, at least faster development or more hands on deck.
Retro worked on the Tropical Freeze port in-house.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like that was taking up development time for something else.
And when you talk about Wii U games, I feel like there's a difference between Wii U games coming to the Switch because they're more recent. The more recent games, for whatever reason, and we can talk about this, justify higher prices to me, justify porting. When you talk about something like Devil May Cry 2001 game, that doesn't really excite me. Even though I've never played the series, if I was going to play the series, I'd want to play.
They should have bundled it with Donkey Kong Country Returns.
I want the collection of Donkey Kong Country Returns and Devil May Cry.
I think going back to what you're saying, David, you're right. The biggest draw is to play these games portably.
Yeah.
Like if you're like me, then you have money to spend on these games when you couldn't when I was in middle school or early high school. Mm-hmm. But now I do. Now I want to play Devil May Cry. I never got to play Devil May Cry 1 because I didn't have the money to buy it.
And it was rated M.
And if you're a Nintendo loyalist, this would be your first chance to play it on a Nintendo console.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a group of people who have never wanted to play a game but didn't want to spend the money for the investment of a console to play that one singular game. Mm-hmm. I bought a PS3 like 3 or 4 years after Last of Us came out just to play Last of Us because it's an incredible game.
I bought a PS4 this year basically just for Kingdom Hearts 3, but I mean, I have been making use of it. Yeah. But that was just the game that was like, all right, I'm buying the system for this.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to spend $300, $400 to play a $60 game. That's like a huge cost to play one game.
And be immeasurably disappointed after waiting 12 years.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like what you were saying, it's like Skyrim sold gangbusters on Switch, right? Because it's like having the entire like realm of Skyrim like in your hand on the bus, like that's a huge draw for people. You know what I mean? I mean, I bought it and I've barely played it, but it's like just nice knowing it's there if I need to ever jump in.
Yeah, you can pick it up, play a game for 5 minutes, and then pause it. The Switch has a great OS, so it loads really quickly.
Yeah. It's just, is that worth the Switch tax? Right?
Yeah. And is this what we want from video game developers? Is this what we want them to be spending their time on, or do we want new things? And I mean, speaking about ports too, like, just real quickly, this in the news this week as well, like there was a leak from EB Games Canada that Darksiders 2, originally a 2012 game, but the remastered version of it, which Darksiders games have clever remastered names.
It's the definitive edition. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And the other one was like the War Master.
Yeah.
So that's coming, and I don't know. I would rather play the new ones, and especially and this kind of gets into the sequel issue too, right? Like if you ported over a game that didn't have a bunch of sequels, I might be interested in playing that. But when it's the first one of a series of 5, I'm more. This is me personally speaking. I'm more interested in newer games. I don't know.
Well, I think Darksiders 2 is the best Darksiders game anyway. So if you want to try it out, I'd say
that's
go for
the one to go for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so speaking about remasters, I mean, I feel like I guess that's sort of the give and take here. Is at least these games are a little bit enhanced, and do you think that's a selling point worth enough to buy these games, or do you think that that's taking up valuable time that could go into making new games, and you'd rather, if they're going to bring them over, just bring them over as they were?
It kind of depends. I'll say that when you're playing something like Final Fantasy X, that was originally a PS2 game, and then they just upgraded all the textures to HD. Sometimes it just makes things look kind of creepy. Like, it's just everything's HD, but then the NPC characters' faces just look like drawn on with a pencil. And so sometimes I'm like, what is the point of putting this on HD other than it's just like, it's probably not that much effort. But
and you know, I think too, just sort of another big picture thing. We're living in the era, and this is true of movies and TV and everything, where there's just so much good quality entertainment that you could play existing games for the rest of your life and never find. Well, this might be an exaggeration, but and not hit a bad one if you planned it out right. So like, it's kind of cool to get the chance to play all these old good games that I've never had the chance to play. And with video games, unless you're exclusively playing on PC, and even then maybe some old games don't now work on Windows 10 or whatever, but like you just can't play older games unless you want to have 10 consoles all plugged into your TV. So the argument for ports is like, hey, if I want to play old games, I don't want to have 10 systems. I want to have, and the Switch being a great example of a system I want it all on, because I can play it anywhere I go. Yeah.
And it makes me not buy games on other consoles in the hope that they will eventually announce a Switch port.
Right. Like even like current games, it's like, well, maybe in 5 years when the Switch Pro comes out, I can play, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
Well, probably not that.
Go fucking. That would be great. That's not going to happen.
You get Red Dead Redemption 2 on the Switch.
Right. Like, I don't know. Maybe.
In VR Labo mode.
Well, let's touch on remaking games, because I feel like the argument that porting a game only takes a limited amount of resources is kind of lost when we're talking about building games from the ground up. And we know that Square has been working for a long time now on remaking Final Fantasy VII, and we know that Nintendo is now remaking Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Does that excite you guys? Hell
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's way video games. I think there's way more of an argument to be made for remaking old games rather than like remaking old movies.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, for example, or something like that. Like they remade, or they kind of did it differently, but like that movie was fucking classic, and I didn't need you to remake that with Johnny Depp, but Final Fantasy VII doesn't hold up.
A good movie is always going to be a good movie, but some of these games, even though they're classics, like you said, like Final Fantasy VII, it's hard to get through nowadays, especially like if you were to go play it on a PS1 and you don't have the speed up, make yourself invincible through the battles button.
Right.
But yeah, there's lots of like Resident Evil 2, and they had the tank controls in the original PS1 where you like move, you like turn your body and move with the same stick. And there's like, that's just not fun to play. But then they remake it, and it's like, there's a great game in there. So
Yeah, and I mean the Link's Awakening remake that's coming out as well really makes me want more games like that from Nintendo, right? Because it's like taking games that already played really well, but just like you don't have access to, or B, some of the game mechanics like don't feel quite right. It's like
because they were limited by being on the Game Boy and only having a couple buttons or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like giving it that new look and making it accessible for everybody. It makes me really excited. I'd love to see more games like that from Nintendo, honestly.
they have a history of doing things sort of like that. Like the Metroid on the Game Boy Advance Zero Mission is a remake of the original Metroid.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like almost that could be due for a second remake at this point.
They've done that with Pokemon for almost every Pokemon game. And,
You're right.
Mario 64 was like a total remake as well for the 3DS, or just for the straight up DS, not the 3DS.
Yeah,
but,
it was just OGDS.
Yeah, OGDS. They just call it that.
They're doing a remake for Command and Conquer, and so they only released one photo, and it was of like one building. And I was like, yes, I can't wait for this.
This building is sick.
It was just like an HD image, and I was like, oh,
And it's mobile only.
It's a construction yard, and it's mobile only.
Well, similar to what you were saying, David, about remakes being a little bit different for video games than in movies, I kind of think that's true for sequels too. In movies, sometimes sequels just kind of suck, and it seems like Hollywood wants to make sequels because they feel like it's going to make them money. But video game sequels are great, or potentially great. Not always, but do you guys have any thoughts about sequels? Would you rather see more new games than 2D Mario 100?
If there's a franchise that I like, I'm down for them just to keep making games, and definitely. It comes a time with certain franchises, like Sonic, you even think, oh, they can't make a good Sonic game, and then Sonic Mania comes out, So, like, I don't ever think they should really just give up on game franchises if they're good. But, I mean, original games are fun, too.
What do you think about the Kingdom Hearts universe and all their crazy games?
So I have only played the mainline
Yeah, me
Kingdom
too.
Hearts games,
Okay,
and I
yeah.
played Chain of Memories when I was a kid, and I hated it. So that was why I never want to play any of the other spinoffs. And I kind of I've been waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 forever, but I wasn't really keeping up since Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. And then I played the game. I was like, oh, maybe I should have known what else. I should have done more than just watch a 30-minute YouTube video explaining it.
I think sequels are very different in games than they are in movies, right? Because with movies, what people always complain about is, oh, they couldn't capture the magic of the first one, or they didn't get story-wise like what was good about the first movie, and they just kind of like iterated on whatever, blah 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 blah, right? But with games, it's completely different. It's like you can fine-tune the mechanics. You can expand what worked and what didn't, like for an interactive basis. It's just totally different. It's like games deserve sequels more than movies do a lot of times. You know what I mean? And it's like, especially if you've got the same team working on it, it can just be like an expansion of the story.
Yeah, if they can really strike that balance of keeping what worked and fine-tuning the mechanics in video games, that can work. And I guess theoretically that could work in film too, but it doesn't seem to happen where because they can't recapture the magic as well as in video
the question
games.
more for sequels is not rather like, are they good or should they make them? But it's rather like, what do you want in them, right?
Right.
So it's like, is it okay? I mean, because people will shit on game companies when they just like add more content with like when they just like have the same sort of gameplay without adding anything
like
new.
Lost Levels almost.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
Like,
a
people
couple
want to see
mechanics,
new
but-
stuff with sequels, right? And so I think that's kind of where more of the talking point is.
Yeah, a game that I think that really does this well, but didn't do it well right off the offset was No Man's Sky. So it's doing really popular right now because they've released all of these sequels. They released sequels like DLC. So like a multiplayer add-on, and several other add-ons where you can build like a construction site and invite your friends to also build there. And they have a VR mode that's happening right now. And it's like super exciting. And that's what No Man's Sky promised us at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But the reality of like scaling a game is you want to create this huge universe with these great mechanics, but you don't have enough time to put all of those gameplay mechanics or all the wants into one game. So you scale it out to sequels. So maybe in like Wind Waker, you wanted, I don't know, a faster, multiple
Better
boats.
traveling.
Yeah, better traveling. Exactly.
yeah.
A little bit faster, but they don't have enough time to develop that. So then you can make the mechanics, the gameplay a little bit better on the sequel and iterate rather than innovate necessarily.
That's a good point you bring up, though, Matt, is like, we're at a point, especially with this games as a service kind of world that we find ourselves in right now, where it's like, you almost don't need to put out sequels, you know?
Right.
Like, I mean, like, 'cause
Totally.
you could potentially just iterate on No Man's Sky forever.
And that's
like,
what it's been doing.
Exactly.
You
and
can
it's-
keep releasing Smash characters.
Exactly.
You could add mini games and boards to Mario Party.
Please.
yeah. Oh man, that would be great. Yeah. Well, it's like, it's like the difference between releasing Picross S1, Picross S2,
Right.
Picross S3, or why don't you just add puzzles to Picross S? You know what I mean? So it's like, Smash, I think, is going to be one where we're not going to be seeing a sequel for the next, like, 10 years. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and they shouldn't, because then they would have to secure Cloud again and all
Right.
these characters, and they probably can't pull that off again.
No, I think the next Smash will be just all Nintendo characters.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
You'd probably have a whole episode's worth of Smash in the future speculation. So.
But there's like the sequel that I was disappointed right at the beginning was Splatoon 2. I love Splatoon 1, but Splatoon 2 didn't feel or like mechanically it didn't look like a different game.
That's I was going to bring that up
It's like
earlier.
Splatoon 1.5 maybe.
It's like halfway between a port and a sequel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a couple quality of life things that they did, but overall, some of the stuff that came over from Splatoon 1, like you can't choose a weapon after a match, like that's a big problem with Splatoon 1. And if there's going to be a sequel, I hope that it increases some of the quality of life stuff and add different mechanics or something of value to it.
Well, big one coming out in June is Mario Maker 2, right? Mario Maker 2 seems like a great sequel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because at first it was like, oh man, what can they really like add to, it's going to really be kind of like a port, blah, 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 blah. But with all the kind of drip feed of little things that we've been seeing from the game, and there's still a ton that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Like really just
We haven't seen
takes
it
the
in
same,
action, really.
Yeah, exactly. It takes that same basic idea from the first game that worked so well and just is adding a shit ton of stuff to really make it feel unique and different. And I'm just so excited for that. That's why I plugged in my Wii U. It was to just play some more Mario Maker, you know what I mean? Because it gets me all hyped up.
I remember before Smash Ultimate was announced that everyone was like, we're going to get a Smash, but we don't know if it's a port.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Or
to talk
if
about.
it's a new game. And there's times when I'm playing Ultimate that it does feel like a port.
Yeah.
And they also added tons of new stuff. They have a world builder now, obviously a stage builder, and tons of new characters. But for the most, it feels like the majority of it is ported.
I think the
Well,
game started as a port.
The gameplay, like if you're gonna get into like how strong shields are and the frame data on moves and the landing
let's go
lag.
there, baby. Come on.
I don't know. I think mechanically it feels a lot different, like gameplay wise than Smash 4, because in Smash 4 is a slower game. The knockback's a lot slower. If you go watch YouTube videos of people playing Smash 4 now, and someone gets hit with like a smash attack, it looks like they just kind of slowly float to the end zone or at blast zone.
Bless them.
But in like, in Smash Ultimate, you get hit and you just explode basically.
Well, I think that's like the nature of sequels to games like Splatoon and fighting games like Smash Brothers, where the mechanics aren't going to change that dramatically. It's a fighting game or it's a shooting game with ink. You know what I mean? Like, unless they're really going to fucking blow it open and completely change stuff, they're going to kind of feel like ports in some ways.
Yeah. I think Nintendo's been kind of doing this thing where it's like they'll port games over from the Wii U, but they'll add like one tiny little feature.
Or
you know what I mean?
remove something and add something too.
Yeah, well, yeah. Where are my trophies, Nintendo? That's my question.
Here, have 1,000 PNGs instead.
I think, Patrick, what you're saying is you're willing to spend the money, but just give me a little. Like, give me a little extra, have a different mode, couple characters, and I'm good.
Yeah.
You can take my money.
It's just like Nintendo just knows their market, right? It's like, A, they know that they're going to be people that are going to be playing it for the first time. And then B, they know that the diehards are going to buy it again. You know what I mean? So it's like, unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. I'd love to see a little bit more give and take, like, how great would it be if it was like, oh, we saw that you owned, Kirby's Epic Yarn on the Wii, so you pay $10 less for the 3DS version, And that's just never going to happen.
That's ideal for us as consumers, and you kind of want something like that. And you look at like PlayStation or Xbox having backwards some of them having backwards capabilities, and you're like, I kind of wish I could stick my Game Boy cartridge in my Switch or whatever, but that's just not feasible.
Well, it just wouldn't fit.
The PS4 has the PS Now, and the streaming, you can stream so many games from everything from the original PlayStation up to the PS4 if you have a good internet connection.
Xbox is the best with backwards compatibility.
It's so good.
And I think that's a whole nother topic that we should talk about in terms of the future of all that kind of stuff. But I think we should move on to what we've been playing. But is there any final thoughts on
Port Xenoblade
ports?
Chronicles X to the Switch, please.
Oh, yeah. Or the first one.
Yeah, both of them. Every Xenoblade thing ever. And Gears.
Any other game you really want ported? Anybody? Or?
Ryan, it's great to know there's another Chronic head. Chronicles head. Yeah.
Love that Chronic.
As far as Nintendo stuff, I mean, I'd still love to see Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Switch. I mean, that game was really good, and it's like the only way you can really play it is on 3DS or on the Wii. So it's like, I'd love to see like an HD version of that. I mean, there's just, honestly, I just don't think that ports are going to be slowing down anytime soon. I think if anything, they're only going to speed up with stuff like, and by the way, the Capcom game I was trying to remember was Onimusha. That's a $20 Capcom game, right? Yeah. So it's like, just fuck it. Who cares? Just bring all these old PS2 games over. It's like, I don't think that, I think the worst thing that you can do is just not buy it, right? It's like, if you don't want to play it, just don't buy it.
Yeah.
It's like, Capcom's still making new games. I mean, and honestly, Sega, if they're going to be focusing on existing IPs, fuck it. Just bring all your Dreamcast games over. You're going to make a ton of money. You know what I mean?
Any Dreamcast game would be great.
Yeah.
A port that I would like to see is the company that made Okami originally.
Yeah.
They have a game called God Hand.
You
ever play God Hand?
Yeah.
It's like this really comedic brawler. I would love to see that ported.
Yeah, there were some rumors about that coming over, actually.
That'd be tight.
Yeah.
I think Sega owns that IP.
So let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Hey, Ryan, our special guest, what video games have you been playing recently?
I've had a lot on the old rotation this week.
Nice breeze, bro.
All about the breeze. I got Mortal Kombat 11 on PS4. Sorry, Switch heads.
It's okay. That's probably the best place to buy it.
Yeah, I don't regret it. Been playing a little bit through the story. It's really cool. Got a couple chapters left. Also got Sekiro, which is destroying me emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
After I talked to David about this being a Wii U themed episode, I remembered to try to beat Wind Waker because I forgot to. So started back up on that one.
What do you mean you forgot to beat?
I forgot to beat Wind Waker.
I thought that I did. But there's a lot. Yeah,
I've never beat that game either. Actually, I've never beaten it.
It's good, and I always play a lot of Smash, so that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go next. Right after I saw Endgame, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of want to play some Fortnite and try out this Endgame mode. So I updated Fortnite for the first time in like almost a year, started playing a couple of matches, and I was like, this is too different. I just haven't played it since. Man, that game has totally changed a lot. And it's like, there's so much going on. And I was like totally overwhelmed. So I just stopped. But then, I've been playing a couple other games. I actually have my Switch up right now. Let's see. Been playing some more Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. Man, that game is really good. Yeah, you guys should play that game for sure if you haven't yet. It's and I'm just blown away by how it looks on the Switch. Like, it's by far the best looking Switch game, and it's plays really, really well.
Her character model and facial expressions during some of those cutscenes are incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. So I've been really enjoying that. What else have I been playing? I've been playing a little bit of Captain Toad. Played some of that.
I got that too.
Yeah. Patrick, thank you very much. Patrick's been lending me some games. I've got like 10 of your games installed on my Switch right now. It's kind of like a lot. It was like too many games this week. But other than that, something I wanted to point out, just because it's on sale now until like, I think mid-May, is this game called VSR Void Space Racing. I think it's a $10 game or a $5 game usually, but it's on sale right now for 50 cents.
Is that the name of it, or is that the like, is VSR the shorthand?
It's VSR Void Space Racing.
Oh, okay.
It's like the full title.
Interesting.
Right. Yeah. And, it's by the developers of Astro Bears, which
love me some Astro Bears.
Yeah, exactly. They do all these kind of budget Switch games, right? But VSR is really awesome, actually. It was on sale for 50 cents. And then I used some credit that I had left over from my Nintendo points. So I ended up buying this game for 8 cents. And for 8 cents, it's great. It's definitely like a little feature light. But the game, just to kind of explain what it's like, it's a space racing game. But it's not like kind of those Star Wars racing games. It's almost more like The Expanse. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever read or seen the show The Expanse, but like the way that like physics works in that is like physics in real life, where it's you use thrust to move forward.
Hard science fiction.
Yeah, basically. And so you're using thrust to move forward, and unless you change your direction, you'll just keep going in that direction. So if like you hold accelerate down, you'll just keep accelerating indefinitely. You know what I mean? You just keep getting faster and faster and faster. So the whole way it works, it's like racing, but it's through these little rings, right? So you'll boost it's almost kind of like 3D asteroids, right? So you'll kind of be boosting in that direction, and then you have to like go through a little ring. But then like before you're going through the ring, it tells you where the next ring is. So you basically set yourself up to move in that direction, and then you kind of tilt your ship to get ready to move through the next ring while you're still going through that ring.
That's cool.
It's really cool. It's kind of like real space physics in a space racing game. And yeah, I'm having a ton of fun with it. The controls are really hard to get the hang of because it kind of breaks everything that you know about racing games. But it's super fun, especially for 50 cents while it's on sale. Nice. I would really recommend getting it. There's no online multiplayer, unfortunately. There's some local multiplayer. But I've been trying to like make my way up the leaderboards a little bit on some of the races, and it's actually a really fucking good time. And when you win, like on some of the harder difficulties, just because the learning curve is so high and it just feels so weird, you kind of feel amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that game if you're looking for a nice budget title on the Switch. And it looks great too. What about you, Matt?
Oh yeah. I put a lot of time back into Snake Pass.
Oh, cool.
Snake Pass is on sale on the eShop for like $6.
Cool.
And have you guys played Snake Pass?
I've seen footage of it, and it looks kind of like Rare inspired.
It's
right?
totally, yeah. It feels like a Rare game. It's very easy to pick up and put down. Mm-hmm. It's like the perfect game to like just chill.
I love a game that's easy to put down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
How are the controls? I hear that's
so.
Some people love it, some people hate it.
It's so fascinating. So you place a snake, and you have one button to move forward, one button to tighten, like to squeeze, and then another button to like put your head up. And so you like crawl and wind up different.
And can you get into that flow with those?
Oh yeah, it's great. It feels like sometimes like a rhythm game at that point.
And it's non-violent, right? It's just like a collectathon.
Yeah, it's a collectathon, totally chill. Feels like an N64 game.
Yeah.
And the music is very similar to Banjo-Kazooie.
Great.
So if you ever play like a collectathon platformer, it's a very cheap game and like the most chill game. I was in Seattle with some buddies, and in between us hanging out, where someone's in the shower or something like that, I would like pick this game up for 5 minutes, and I was like, "This game's fun."
Yeah.
And my friends were like, "Why are you playing a goddamn snake game?"
But it looks gorgeous too.
Yeah.
I think the graphics are great.
It's super chill. It's the chillest game, and I've been preaching this gospel since the episode of when we talked about
hidden
gems.
Yeah,
hidden gem.
yeah.
Snake Bass. It's so fun.
Does it have a story to it, or is it just kind of like an open world?
There's not really a story. Yeah.
Is it not like
in the beginning, God created the snakes.
It's like
it's the Adam Eve snakes.
Yeah.
you got a bird friend, and there's gems, and you go get that shit.
Cool. Nice.
Oh yeah.
Patrick, how about you?
I've been playing lots of stuff, but the two things I'll mention today are Smash Brothers. I got my son excited about Stage Builder. He randomly said he wanted to play Smash Brothers. We played it a few times, and I was like, oh, there's a Stage Builder, because he loves construction blocks and stuff like that. So he got really into that, and now he wants to play it a lot, and we build a new stage, and then I just let him kick my ass on the stage, and he loves that. He thinks it's hilarious. He's a purple Yoshi main. So we've been playing a lot of that and making stages, and then he names them like Heine Schmooper. Like, what should we call this one?
Language is that?
Great name.
He'll just make up
Heine Schmooper?
weird things to name them.
You should upload them and put the tags for the listeners to download.
They're not that great.
He's a kid.
So, and basically I make sure to box in the stage so that he won't fall off.
Oh, that's really sweet. That's really sweet.
So, and then I've also been in anticipation of getting new games later this year with the deluge of 2019 games, I want to free up some space on my SD card, and I have Wolfenstein 2, which I haven't beaten, and that's a giant fucking game.
Yeah.
So I am trying to beat that, and I picked that back up. I've set it down randomly because of other games, and I'm actually having fun. I like the game, but so I've been playing a lot of that. I want to beat it soon.
You just reminded me that's free on Xbox Live right now.
Oh, nice.
and I've been meaning to download it.
Now
I will.
I bought it on the Switch when I sort of in between having other consoles, and I actually really only play on the Switch anyway. Obviously, it probably looks better on other things, runs better, whatever. But it's not bad on the Switch, and I've played it in handheld and docked, and it's
I've seen it. My roommate had it run well.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, again, if you have other ways to play it and you have time to sit in front of a TV, do it that way. But it's not bad on the Switch. So.
I did also want to say one thing I kind of forgot that I had kind of mentioned earlier is, just looking up Mario Maker 2 stuff has gotten me into playing Mario Maker again. So I kind of opened that up on my Wii U today and was playing that for like about an hour or two. And then having the Wii U open made me remember that I just had all these cause basically I have the virtual Wii inside my Wii U modded. So I can basically through the homebrew channel on the virtual Wii on my Wii U, I'm able to load up GameCube games.
That's some Inception shit. Right?
Yeah. So on my Wii U, I've been playing. I was playing some Super Monkey Ball 2 today, and I was playing some Wave Race Blue Storm, and I've just got all these old GameCube games that I'm playing again. And it feels really nice. If you guys ever want to come over and play some Melee, I'd like to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to play some Wave Race.
Yeah, dude. I will play 4-player Wave Race Blue Storm with y'all. I'm not joking.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, so I think that about wraps it up. Thanks, as always, to Corduroy for doing the music. Thanks for listening. Send us an email or a message on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. If you want to find me online personally, I am PDYX or PDYX123 some places.
You can find me on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
On the internet, I am at Monolith Fiji.
You can follow me on Instagram at Ryan Alexander Robinson.
Ooh, that's a nice long one.
Thank you.
Alexander.
And be sure to follow us on our social accounts at Super Switchheads on Instagram and Facebook. We're at Switchheads on Twitter. Hopefully we'll be getting a website up kind of soon. So you can probably find that at switchheads.com.
How about we will have
we'll do that.
soon.
It's not up yet, but it will be up.
It's a cooking.
We need a nice little splash page to direct people to. But please send us some more messages and questions. We'd love to be answering those on the show.
And thanks again, Ryan Robinson, for joining us on the show.
That was good. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was great.
It was pretty fun, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so rainy outside.
No pressure. It was fun.
Can I leave now?
You have a good time, motherfucker?
Every guest, David, you're like, well, it's fun, right?
Validate me. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. Got a fun interview next week with sound designer of some indie games, so be sure to tune in for that. We'll be seeing you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.